Hello everyone, so during this video today, you could say we'll be adding clay to my Triceratops today, and learning about Big John, the world's biggest Triceratops to this day.
Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well, and thank you for tuning into Moose Motion. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed the content, comment below what you think, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new, and be sure you have your post notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the new content. Anyway, thank you for your support, it's highly appreciated.
So during part 2 of the Triceratops project today, we'll be starting by adding some paint to the skull, you could say, before we get too heavy into the clay, because then it's too late to add the paint, you might say. But I'm happy to say that Big John will definitely be getting his muscles today. But as I sculpt away on this dinosaur today, we'll be learning some fun facts about the world's biggest Triceratops named Big John, so the scientists say. Now, before I get too carried away with the poetry today, let's get into the scientific facts about this dinosaur, I say. Big John is a 66-million-year-old Triceratops discovered in South Dakota in the Hell Creek Formation in 2014. 60% complete with a 2-meter-wide skull, and happens to be the world's largest Triceratops to this date. Big John lived in Lyromedia, an island continent that existed in the late Cretaceous, but obviously no longer exists to this day. But it stretched from present-day Alaska to Mexico. One thing is for certain, Big John is definitely a true marvel of the natural world, and is a truly remarkable discovery. Now it's time to learn more about the team that actually found it, the research that was conducted, and the impact that Big John has left on the paleontology community. You will also hear about the unique environment of the Hell Creek Formation and how it shaped the dinosaurs that lived there. Big John is a truly remarkable dinosaur skeleton, not just for its size, but also for its level of preservation. The Hell Creek Formation is famous for its well-preserved dinosaur fossils, and Big John is one of the best examples of this. The fossil was found over a period of several years, while the team gradually uncovered more and more bones as they dug deeper into the ground. When they finally had all the bones they needed, they began the process of putting the skeleton back together. One of the first things they noticed about Big John was its sheer size. Triceratopses in general are already large dinosaurs, however, Big John was definitely a lot larger than your average Triceratops. With the complete skull measuring just over 8 feet, scientists were able to estimate that the dinosaur would have been about 40 feet long and would have weighed up to 12 tons. To help put this into perspective, the average T.rex weighs about 8 to 9 tons, so Big John was, well, big. It should be noted that these two dinosaurs are technically different species. Well, I mean, they are technically both dinosaurs, but Triceratops belongs to the Ornithischian, whereas T.rex belongs to the Silurian families. Basically, they have two different hip structures, and I dive into more detail in that with my sauropod build. So if you'd like to learn more about the difference between those types of dinosaurs, be sure to go check out part 3 of the sauropod project. Anyway, given that Big John was about 12 tons, this makes it one of the largest dinosaurs ever discovered, currently the largest Triceratops. Big John's skull was probably the most impressive. Aside from his massive biceps here, I mean, do you even lift, bro? I mean, definitely a reminder to eat your vegetables. The Triceratops is well known for its large bony frill, which surrounded the back of its skull, protecting it from predators as well as fellow Triceratops, which, well, we will learn about later and perhaps didn't protect it as much as one would hope. In Big John's case, the frill was particularly large and well preserved, which is rare for a fossil. The 3 or 2 horns on its head, see part 1 for details, they were also well preserved and would have been used for defense as well as to attract mates. The rest of Big John's skeleton was also in remarkable condition, with many of the bones being nearly complete and remarkably intact. This allowed the team to learn a great deal about the Triceratops and how it lived. For example, they were able to examine the dinosaur's bones and were able to determine it was a fully grown adult, which isn't always easy with fossils. They also studied the dinosaur's legs, and they were rather short and sturdy that would be able to support the dinosaur's weight. And seeing how we're on the topic of its limbs, there's a common misconception of Triceratops and a lot of its, well, relatives, that they would have had elephant-like feet, which is not entirely true. They would have had rather strange digits, essentially. Now, I think this common misconception has come from a few different sources, one of which being, well, toy manufacturers kind of being lazy and just using, well, elephant casting things for their dinosaur toys, as well as Jurassic Park and Jurassic World not exactly having the most accurate anatomy for a lot of their dinosaurs. So you're probably wondering exactly what their feet looked like. If they weren't elephant feet, then what were they? Well, to be honest, I think they were generally shown this way to be a little less controversial because it's a little, well, easy to accept that this is a large animal that would have had feet like that. In reality, it's much stranger. Now, the back feet apparently only had 4 toes. I thought they had 3, but apparently one was slightly vestigial, so probably didn't have a claw on it. And then the front had 5, and 3 of which had claws, 2 of which were basically vestigial and didn't actually have claws on them. So I suppose the common interpretation for these dinosaurs was accurate in one way, the fact that it had 3 claws, but other than that, it is basically entirely incorrect. Now back to fun facts about Big John. In addition to his, well, massive size and well-preserved skeleton, Big John had an interesting history. The Hell Creek Formation is one of the most famous geological formations in the world, and it has been a site for many important dinosaur discoveries. The formation dates back to the late Cretaceous period, which was the last period for the dinosaur era, and provides a snapshot of the environment in which the dinosaurs lived, which wasn't always a very easy place to be by the sounds of things. And seeing how we're now working on, well, the actual skull, or covering up the skull with clay, I figured this would be an appropriate time to talk about, well, Big John's battle scars on his frill, which I previously kind of hinted towards in this video, as well as mentioned in part 1 in some vague detail for, well, obvious purposes here. Mainly because it provides us an interesting window into the life of these Triceratopses and how difficult it would have been. Now, Big John's frill has 3 distinct battle scars, 2 of which seem to be fairly minor and were probably fairly common injuries for Triceratopses, looking like puncture wounds from a horn. And the third hole, which is fairly large, which is placed more or less off to the side of the frill, which I'm sure you can see in the sculpture here, which was a bit of a cheap shot apparently from another Triceratops that decided to strike Big John from behind. And unfortunately, due to this laceration in his skull from a fight from his Triceratops, some scientists predict that this, well, could have caused Big John's demise. And personally sounds like I need to make another Triceratops in the future that is going to be battling Big John here, because that sounds like an interesting animation project, but I am getting ahead of myself. It is now time for the build rundown. So you could say this Triceratops skeleton definitely gained a lot of weight today in the form of clay. We also got a bit of painting out of the way, and some off-camera work, I must say, was some clear coat to the skull, I say, because that would have been kind of boring to watch, I say. We also got the basic shape of this Triceratops out of the way, and formed a lot of muscles today. Now that part 3 is on the way for this dinosaur, I say, we'll be adding a lot more details next time, you could say, where there is plenty more painting and sculpting to take away, like the eyeballs need to be in their place, I must say. Ugh. One also might say that there's some interesting details coming this dinosaur's way to keep this sculpture scientifically accurate, I say. So be sure to stay tuned, I say, because there's a lot more fun facts about this dinosaur on the way. Anyway, thank you for watching this far in the video. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the content, comment below what you think, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new. Anyway, that's all from me. Till next time, take it easy.